Hi there, and welcome to the Skylight Books author reading series. If you'd like to learn more about us and our many upcoming author events, please visit skylightbooks.com, where you can browse our inventory, buy books, and join our Friends with Benefits Club. You can also follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. To speak to a real live bookseller like me, please call 323-660-1175. Thanks for your support, and enjoy.
I forgot I was going to see so many people I liked here, so this is very exciting. Hi. I'm so excited. Okay. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the book. All right, good. And then we're going to talk, and then if you guys have any questions, I can answer questions too. And so the book is, in the first couple of pages of the book, we meet this man, Victor Tuchman, and he almost immediately has a heart attack, and I put him in a coma for the rest of the book. And that's where he stays forever, or until something happens. Because that was it. That's what I wanted to have happen to him. It's a lot of wish fulfillment in this book. And so anyway, Victor Tuchman, bad rich man, coma, and he has different family members that are sort of dealing with the coma. So he has this wife, Barbra, who is the secret keeper, and then he has his daughter, Alex, who wants to know the secrets about him, and she's divorced. She was married to a man named Bobby, who is very handsome, and he lives in Colorado, and their daughter is visiting him in Colorado for the summer, and Alex is down dealing with the sick father. And then there's her brother Gary, who's actually out in LA. And if I don't write autobiographical fiction, but if I were to pick one character in the book that I was like, it would be Gary, because he's like in an Airbnb and he keeps missing the flight home, and he's just getting high in the Airbnb, and I'm like, that's what I would just keep missing the flight home, because I would not want to deal with the bad dad. So, and then and his wife Twyla, who kind of has her own secrets. Yeah, Twyla. I know when Alissa was reading it, she was texting me like, I am, don't judge me, but I'm Twyla. So
she's the worst.
She's so good though. She's so good. But bad, but good.
Really bad.
And she's a makeup girl. She likes to go to CVS and buy lots of lipstick. So, okay. So I'm just going to read, Alex is visiting New Orleans, dealing with like a bunch of like the dying father stuff, and she has to deal with her family that's off in the distance, the daughter and the ex-husband, and I'm going to read a little bit about from that section. And she's staying in downtown New Orleans at a hotel. In the hotel room, Alex immediately missed the roof, where she'd been cut off from the world. She glanced out through the window at the abandoned construction site next door, a building in exile from the rest of the city, unloved, unfinished for life, and then gave in and turned on the television set. It was how she was raised, televisions in practically every room in the house, kitchen, living room, everyone's bedrooms, her father's study, one on the back patio just out of reach of the pool water. The only place that had been TV-free was the dining room, but often the kitchen set was left on during meals, inside of where her father sat at the head of the table, so he could lean back and catch the sports scores. Clarity of thought was dangerous in their home. The background hum was what made the house run. Then no one had to articulate their words. Conversation just gave way to the rumble from room to room. Low-level noise was what her father desired, except when he wanted complete fucking silence, of course. Whatever soothed him, he got. There was nothing soothing about television these days. All the news was bad. Our president was a moron, and the world was falling apart. She thought this every single day. I wrote this last year. Alex sprawled stomach down on the bed and watched the talking heads anyway. What horrors awaited? She took no pleasure in the knowing, yet being informed satisfied a part of her. One could be both satisfied and unhappy simultaneously. She had known this for a long time. Which side of the scale was being tipped at any given moment was up to her. She had chosen unhappy lately. It seemed easier in a way. But she was still a mother, a job title that forced her to act at least a little satisfied. Her iPad beeped. It was her daughter, Sadie, FaceTiming from Colorado. Alex muted the television set but turned on the closed captioning, just in case. Alex and Sadie waved at each other, Sadie's smile a metallic gleam of the most expensive, longest-running batch of braces in history, like some well-loved sentimental Broadway musical. Sadie rolled onto her back and took the iPad with her, her hair splayed around her on the bed. Look how pretty my daughter is, thought Alex. How's Grandpa, said Sadie. Still sick, said Alex. Like, still sick like get better sick or sick like die sick? I don't want to be casual about this. He's very sick and he's not awake and he'll probably die. Are you sad? I don't know about sad. It's a different feeling than I've had before, said Alex. Are you sad? I didn't really know him, so I'm going to feel bad if you do because I love you, said Sadie. My heart, thought Alex. You're a great kid, she said. How's it going there? Since Sadie had arrived in Denver, her Instagram feed was full of pictures of the exteriors of pot dispensaries, and Alex had complained to her ex-husband about it, and he had said, what do you want me to do? They're everywhere. It's not if she's smoking pot. I can't stop her from taking the pictures when I'm not around. And then she'd had to have the conversation with her daughter, are you smoking pot? Mom, no, you can tell me if you are. Mom. Alex steeled herself for the worst every time they spoke. Just now, Sadie said, well, Daddy has 2 girlfriends. How do you know? Because one girlfriend I met, and we went to dinner with her, and her name is Natasha, she's fine, and the other girlfriend we ran into at the mall. Maybe she was a friend of his. No, she squeezed his hand really tight. I saw it. Okay, said Alex, this guy, she thought. He's probably dicking it up all over Denver. Well, Bobby can do as he pleases. He always has. And then she said she'd called him last night, and he said he'd had the phone off because he was at a movie with me, and he wasn't at a movie with me because he was at a movie with Natasha. Like, he didn't even think twice. He just totally lied to this woman. I couldn't figure out if I was supposed to lie too or not. Alex put her hand to her head. 1 second, honey, she said, and moved the iPad away from her head so Sadie couldn't see her full physical response, which was a complete thrust of her face into disgust. Mom? Alex put the iPad on mute and screamed, then unmuted it and returned to the screen. Sorry, I got a text. So what am I supposed to do when this kind of thing happens, said Sadie. Do I lie or not lie or what? Alex realized that this was an important moment in the development of her child. A question was being asked that needed a responsible answer. She could teach her child about honesty and about the way she deserved to be treated by a man, but also how it was possible to love someone even if they were deeply, deeply, deeply flawed. And if she were to be fair to her ex-husband, how it was possible to be attracted to 2 people at the same time, even have 2 separate relationships, but that was his line of defense, not hers. Or was she supposed to tell Sadie that her father didn't know how to keep his dick in his pants, and that he never had, not for as long as she'd known him, not in college when he was someone else's boyfriend cheating with her, not when they lived together in Chicago when they were in law school, not after they got married and moved to the suburbs when they were both equally bored, but still somehow she had managed to remain faithful while he hadn't. Not ever was there a time when that man's penis stayed put where it was supposed to be, instead living its life as a free-flying dilettante, a party penis, as if it were some sort of rich kid celebrity DJ hitting new hot spots, London, Paris, Ibiza, except instead of those cities, it would be a paralegal's vagina instead. You know what? Put your father on, said Alex. She watched as her daughter traveled through her ex-husband's new home, a condo high above the city. Windows, light, a framed picture of a motorcycle? That can't be right. Surely not. She felt dizzy from the bounce and jitter of the iPad's camera, so by the time her daughter arrived in what appeared to be the living room, where there was all white furniture as far as the eye could see, good Lord, who had all white furniture? She felt a little seasick. Spill something on that couch, Sadie, she thought. Spill everything. Okay.
Ooh.
I feel like I want to face out. I feel like I'm losing.
I know. Everyone. I don't know. Yeah, now that you read that penis thing, I feel.
That was for you.
Yeah, I kind of feel empowered to. Okay. Yeah. So in one thing I loved, and you kind of brought this up, so it's an interesting time to write about bad men. And I thought it was I can only describe it as elegant, the way you just kind of iced him, right at the beginning,
yes.
And you're like, yes, we're going to write about him. He's here, but he's in a coma. And I thought that was so smart. And I just wondered if you could kind of begin by talking a little bit about writing about bad men right now.
So originally, the beginning of the book was actually chapter 6 of the book. And for many, many drafts, it was chapter 6 of the book, which is just Alex at the beginning, not just a couple of moments before what I just read, where she's sitting on the roof of a hotel. And that was that was my way into the book, was seeing a woman sitting on the roof of a hotel, kind of thinking about this sick father, and like how she wanted to know his secrets, but at the same time, and was kind of like feeling weird and sad, as you can sometimes grieve people even if you don't love them or have mixed feelings towards them. And so that was really how it started. And my intention was purely to write from all female perspectives in the book, as I tend to write a lot from female perspectives, and to never even go anywhere near this man at all. And then as I started writing the book, some male perspectives wormed their way in, and I was fine with them. And it was just taking place like, over the course of this one day. The book is split into the morning and the afternoon and the evening. That was it for 4 or 5 drafts. And then I got a couple of notes from people along the way that maybe there's something that needed to happen a little bit beforehand. And so I started investigating other characters right before the moment, like a couple days before that. And then I thought, I never wrote in his perspective at all. I'm just going to try it, because I just hated him so much. And I really try to approach all my characters with compassion. It's really important to me to do it. So I was like, let me give it a shot. Let me get in there. Let me see what's going on. And I still didn't like him. And I could last about 2 or 3 pages with him. So I did give him his like little moment, and it was very genuine on my part of like getting to know that character. But and even starting the book with him, but it's really direct. It's a really directed and explicit gesture on my part that you only see him for that period of time, and then that's it. Because I don't think there's anything we're going to learn about this bad man that we don't already know.
I felt you setting a boundary with him, and that was just something that I wanted to thank you for, because I think like it hadn't occurred to me that with fictional characters sometimes, and like with these people that we're creating ourselves, they can go too far, right? Like with us, like they can.
We just get into it,
yeah.
And I mean it was tricky, because I'm used. You want to sort of give the full story.
Yeah.
Even I have a lot of smaller characters in the book, which we could talk about later, that just show up, and I even think I gave them more of a, well, I mean, you do know, I feel like you learn everything you need to know about him in it, but then I really had to kind of say to myself and give myself permission, like all the rules that apply, we need to sort of throw them out the window when it comes to this kind of character and this person, because I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about this like strong, maybe perhaps charismatic, wealthy, toxic man, where he becomes the anti-hero, and then we give him more credibility than we should possibly give him, and it's like, fuck that, like we're done, like let's finish that and move on to something else. Like if, as long as we keep giving him that space, then he gets to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like also
the first curse of the night. There we go, right there.
Oh, are we not allowed to?
No, I don't know, but I have been cursing a lot on this tour, so clocking in at like 2 minutes or something like that. A lot of fuck that going on this tour. So.
Well, no, and that comes up a lot of times with conversations I have with people like surrounding Succession, and sort of like some of.
I think about it all the time. I mean, I watched that show and I like ate that show up, but at the same time, it's like a dad and 3 sons and 1 daughter, and she only gets, so that's like 1/5 of the gaze goes to the lady. Of the house, and then the rest, and I'm like, what happens if it was all women, or what happens if it's all daughters, or whatever? Like, how do we reclaim it? And
you put him in a coma.
You put him in a fucking. Well,
isn't that brilliant?
Like, but he was in a coma for the first half of that series, the first half of that season, and then they brought him back, and I was like, damn, we were so close. So close.
Yeah. I mean, didn't we almost have it all?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I want to go back to what you were saying also about compassion. So right before we came out, Jami turned to me and said, "Why can't I ever write a cheerful book?"
Yeah. It is a funny book.
It's such a funny book,
but it is like when someone's saying "toxic man in a coma," it's just layered immediately or weighted. Yeah.
There's so much hope. And I wanted to talk, and we can just talk about, so now that we've talked about him, we don't have to talk about him again at all. But it gives me hope so much in that I feel like you really, it's not just that like you let your characters be human and flawed. I mean, like that's really kind of like the way that we meet them and the way that we get to know them, which is so special. I mean, that's always kind of like what I wish for in a relationship, is that I could just fast forward to the part, where like we're being relational, with kind of like the most broken parts of ourselves and like so honest, and that's always when we meet your characters. And to me, your books are very cheerful in that, like when I see that sprawl of them being so flawed, not in a way that I guess kind of along with compassion. I wondered if you'd talk a little bit about judgment. Because I feel like, to me, like that's part of what's so magic, definitely about this novel, but all of kind of, your fiction really is that I do not feel kind of like the characters being judged.
Although
him.
I did,
Coma.
I do.
Coma means judgment.
Yeah. Coma means judgment.
Parenthetical.
I really was like wrestling so much with these characters and trying to understand who they were and trying to arrive at that place, because I think that everybody is so flawed in this book, and there's like a lot of like complicitness in with him and ethical challenges that go along with it. And because I'm just really digging at, really driving at trying to understand it, and because it's character driven, right? So like there's political stuff in the book that I'm working through, but if my characters aren't working, then the book is, I think that I've learned in the past that I've had like preachier moments in my books, and it doesn't like early in my career, because I was like, I've got important things to say, I'm a young novelist, and now it's like I do have those things, but there's a way to say it. And also, I really, truly want to understand these characters, and I want to create characters that I feel like more than ever I'm in conversation with a readership, because I put out 7 books over 14 years, so I'm aware of like people showing up for a reading, and I'm aware of it getting reviewed, and I'm aware of like how the internet discusses it, and so I offer these characters up, and I try to create characters that are sort of, that there's enough space in the book for readers to insert themselves into it and to have their own kinds of conversations with it, because I allow that how I feel about them, like how I might possibly judge them, is not how other people might judge them too. And so what's the end goal is to get people to like be engaged with the ideas and get through this book, and also be entertained and be like all of these things that I want to have happen in the book. And so part of that has to be with me trying to understand them. But I think that there's plenty of judgment in this. I feel a little, because my authorial voice sneaks in here and there and sort of makes little judgments here and there.
Well, they're objectively bad decisions that, are objectively described. But I wanted to ask you about that, because, I think always kind of, when you have a new book come out, I'm like, okay, well, this is really my favorite, like of your books, and then like the next one will come out, and I'm like, this is really my favorite. Okay. But this time, like, this is really my favorite. And I think because of that, in that sort of with these characters, I would be like so relational, like to them, and so like with them, and kind of like, understanding like, okay, like this is the team I'm on, and then they would make a choice. And I would be like,
yeah.
And it was a really great thing to get to sit with, as a reader, and it was just so much fun.
My juiciest book, for sure. Like a lot happens in this book, as opposed, like my previous books. I love all my books for different reasons, but like I tend to write more of like smaller emotional movements, moving forward, characters having realizations, where this is like very much more plotty and has a lot more scandal and drama and stuff like that going on in it.
But there was that meta thing of, and you brought it up with family. I think like we always kind of have this this struggle, especially as kind of we, the older we get, the more we can kind of learn about our sort of, family members and, elders as humans, and kind of like their full spectrum of behavior. And I think like that is always the challenge of like, like, can I sit with them through this? Like how does this affect, sort of our love, and, if, how does this affect our boundary, like in what ways, like, am I changing, and can I kind of like still be with you?
That's probably because I'm getting older, so I'm able to think about that a little bit more. I don't, a lot of this, Alex's goal, this daughter, is really to find out all the secrets about her family in this book. and she doesn't actually ever really, I'm not really giving anything away. Like, we know, the reader knows what the secrets are, but she doesn't actually, she finds out some things, but not all the things. And it's really like, the point of it is like that it doesn't really matter if you know your family secret. I mean, to me, this book, I mean, whatever, this book is about, so every time I go, well, really what this book is about, but it's really about, lots of things are going on in it. But when I think
what's it really about?
It's about me.
Woo!
No, it's not about me. But I do think it's about kind of getting, like, letting a lot of stuff go and just moving on. And a theme throughout my work really is about how closure is sort of bullshit and irrelevant. I've written about that a bunch of times because people are looking for that. They're looking for that answer and that solution and closure. And I think it's a very particularly American thing to want closure. And actually you don't need it. You just need to sort of decide. So that's to me what it's about. So you can, like, see all these things and have these shifting feelings about characters, and different things can pop up, but really, like, at some point you have to, it's, the book sort of invites you to just figure out who you are, you know, like, all the characters are trying to figure out exactly who they are so they can move on.
So what would you say that this book is saying or exploring about family?
What is it exploring about family?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I can tell you why I'm interested in writing about family, which is that I have written books that are about acquired families, like meaning relationships or friendships, and that is, it's not that it's less challenging, but it's a different dynamic, whereas when you write about a family, you don't choose them at all, and so it's an incredible way to write about America when you write about a family, because there's all these different viewpoints and political systems and ethics and coming through, but also it's just, like, juicy and gossipy, and I kind of view what I do as just gossiping about my characters in a way, so I think I like that. But what am I trying to say? I don't know, because it's, like, constantly, you just gotta, like, deal with them is kind of it, you know, whether you want to or not.
Yes. And I have this dream kind of like opening, like, your, like that there's, like your room in the library, and, like, I'm, like, the curator, and then I give these, like, craft talks.
This is what would be in it.
Yeah. And I make little signs, of your covers with Sid and cupcakes. And so then I assign, like, you know, one aspect of craft to, like, each of your novels. And I was just thinking about, you know, kind of, like, the next time I teach this, and, you know, what sort of, you know, venue, what I would approach, you know, like, craft wise. And I think setting would be a really fun, you know, kind of, like, window. And so, I wanted to just kind of ask you about, the different choices for setting, and if you were nervous at all, you know, just kind of like about, you know, writing in a new place. Yeah.
So I've written, 3 of my books have been set in New York. I lived in New York for 16 years, something like that. A couple of my books have been set in the Midwest. My story collection was set all across America. And I moved to New Orleans in February, it'll be 4 years full time. I was living there part time. And I was scared to write about New Orleans because I was new and I felt really new there. And it's a really specific place. It's a small city. It has an incredible history. It has obviously had dramatic changes post-Katrina to it. And also there's been a population shift of 30%, like people like me moving down to New Orleans. So I was really worried about it. And then I kind of was waiting. It was another permission thing where I was kind of waiting for somebody to give me permission. I don't know why I thought that, to write about this place. And then I realized I had to give myself permission to do it, which is like, you have to give yourself permission to create any kind of art, right? No one ever comes down from the heavens and is like, you write this novel now. You have to just wake up. And that's what I did. I woke up and one day probably wrote it in my journal and said, just do what you do here. Like, this is what you do. And so that was kind of how I got started. But my access point to write about the city was really to start from people who were new in town. And then as I wrote through the book, these native New Orleanian characters started popping up and were like, you actually are not allowed to tell the story of this city without us. And so then it became more of a balance going on there, even though the core family is people who've either lived there post-Katrina or as recently as 2 years. So that was part of it. It was actually an incredible joy to do research for this book because I did a lot of road trips. So I drove like all over, not just in New Orleans, but all over the region. So a very good example of this is that Twyla, I decided that she had grown up on a pecan farm. I don't know why I picked a pecan farm. I liked her in a farm, and I just picked pecan randomly, and you don't actually.
Nuts. My last name's Nutting.
Nuts.
Just saying.
Right. It was my tribute.
Yeah.
My tribute to Alissa, and
I see you.
So then I was like, well, if you're gonna do that, then you actually have to go to a pecan farm and see where she grew up. So I drove to Alabama and drove to a pecan farm, and they had like a little pecan brittle store there that you could go in. And I went in and I was talking to them, and I asked if I could go and walk around the land, and they said no because it rained last night and there are snakes everywhere. Ooh. And I said, I will take that detail and put it in my book. Thank you very much. And that was just an instance of sometimes you just have to like really insert yourself into the setting and into the landscape. And then, I mean, we're so used to just looking at Google and being like, what's that street look like? What is that, an image search or something like that. And there's no way snakes coming out after the rain was going to pop up on any. In fact, I did look it up afterward just to see if, not an image search, but just if like the information of snakes coming out after a rain on a pecan farm would have ever been Googleable, and it was not ever going to be Googleable. So so that was it was a great opportunity for me to get to know the region because I was new to it. And then also all these incredible natural elements started popping up everywhere I went. This is probably my most kind of the book that is the richest with natural elements in my work. I mean, especially having written about New York. It's such a urban, it's all about the streets there. So, I don't know, just kind of, I loved it. I do write a lot about where I am or where the characters are, and it's a way of consuming it and offering a tribute to it.
And so I wanted to ask, just in gossip kind of like terms, if you could just describe a really high point personally, like that you had kind of in the process of writing it, and if you could describe like a really low point that you had in the process of writing it.
Okay, let me think. There's a character that shows up really late in the book. I don't really want to give too much away, but she's a native New Orleanian character, and I probably wrote that chapter like 8 times, 9 times, and I wrote the same chapter over and over and over again, and I never actually revised it. I just had all these chapters sitting next to each other in a document, and then I finally would just pick out like the best sentences and things like that, and merge it all together. And I was very protective of that character because in some ways she represented all of New Orleans to me, and I did, I don't want to say what she did, but I went to her job and did research. If you read the book, like you'll know where I went to do research for her job, and I just thought thought about life and death a lot when I was writing it, and was very proud with how it turned out. And a lot of people like that chapter a lot, and so that meant a lot to me. I don't know. The low point really is, I'm very tired on this book tour, so I've been traveling a lot. So in a way, the publication of the book, even though it's quite joyous, but it's also like very intense, and you're just putting yourself out there a lot. So I think that is it's really hard. But in terms of like writing it, like I think it's probably the same for you. Writing is very playful and joyful for me, and it's not. It's not? No, but your writing feels that way. Your writing feels like so playful to me. It's not?
No.
Really?
No.
It is
I
hard.
think it is, yeah.
But do you enjoy like living in the universe of these characters?
Oh. That's so interesting.
No, you don't like it.
That's so interesting. Well, I remember once we were at a thing together, and we had like maybe like an hour, like in between stuff. And I was going to go, like do something awful, like watch Law and Order or something, you know what I mean? And you were like, I'm going to work, like I'm going to write. Like, you really like wanted to get, back to your people.
Yes.
And yeah, I really loved that. And I definitely.
I think what we did was we ate a bunch of Taco Bell instead, actually. That's probably what we did. But.
Yeah, maybe we did that.
Yeah.
Maybe we did that too. Was that your first Taco Bell? Was that night?
No, but it was like you wanted me to try some kind of Taco Bell that I never had before. And you're like, how have you never? And I was like, I don't know. I live in New York City where there's other things to eat there besides Taco Bell.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, do you go through kind of like a withdrawal when you finish something? Do you have like a kind of depressive, is it like a breakup?
We were just like actually talking about how I'm not writing right now because I'm on tour and I feel like I miss it so much because if I left to my own devices, my brain will eat itself. And so it's better to have something for me to work on and chew on rather than me and like whatever's going on in my life or not going on in my life. And so I think that, I don't know. I don't get depressed when I get very happy when I'm done because I'm ready for people to see it. I like it. I like it when my friends see it and my editor who I have a really good relationship with sees it, or, my peers see it. I like it when people who really like to read see it, when my readers see it. I like it less maybe when it gets reviewed. Like that's hard because it feels businessy in a way. But I'm never like, oh, I want to stay. I want to keep writing these characters forever. Like when a book is done, I definitely want it to be done because I like landing the ending. Like that feels fun. We could do my craft talk on landing the endings. I think that's the most fun thing ever to like come up with a good ending.
And how do you know personally?
Well, 2 of my books made me cry at the end.
Ooh.
So I knew I was done because I wrote to crying. The Middlesteins and All Grown Up, both of the endings made me cry for those. Same Easy just sort of made me feel wistful at the ending, but with a little bit of hope. And then, and this one was really what it is about making sure that all your characters have their final say. So a lot of it is just like going through everybody and being like, are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? And then with this book, I thought I was done, and then I was like, oh, I forgot about these 2 guys. Not guys, but 2 characters, and I like went back and I put them in, and then I knew I was done. Like I listen. It's about listening to your characters and making sure they're taken care of.
So what would you say then, like about closure? Because I mean, clearly it's kind of like a narrative construction, right? That we do, and sort of there are like it's necessary for like a book to feel satisfying, right? And sort of like the book which has a objective end, but things, are going on kind of within the story. How do you balance sort of that in wrapping everything up, knowing that like you're very much, kind of like thematically making the statement that like things don't get wrapped up?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know it doesn't have to be a happy ending. That like life isn't really like a happy ending ever, really truly a happy. I mean, happy ending is like then you die, and that's maybe the happiest. I know that sounded terrible, but you know what I mean. Like
I do know what you mean.
Okay. but yeah, I don't know. I just try to get them to a place like safe landing, like a raft or a shore or whatever, and then whatever happens after that, it's not my responsibility. But I got them to that place.
They're on the buoy.
Yeah, hanging on for dear life sometimes, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to leave time for questions.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to express about
I want to express
the
how
novel?
much I like you.
Thank
you. And I want to express how proud I am because you're here now making a TV show out of your last book. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
You shot the pilot, so that's really great. So that's what I wanted to. You asked. I could say anything. It's my reading, so that's what I want to talk about. Is you?
I feel so betrayed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be really fun to chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Should I put this out or?
I don't know. Or can we all just hear each
Here?
other? Yeah.
I could repeat.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I was wondering why you moved towards a more narratively driven book. The only one I've read is All Grown Up, and one thing I loved about it was it was kind of like a tone poem.
Yes.
And the ending was amorphous almost, or maybe I'm wrong on that, but I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great.
And I'm not saying
Thank you.
I'm not going to like this, but I wondered what drove you to then.
So I think there are 2 things going on. First of all, like it's funny because at the end of that book, I totally know what the end. I feel like I know exactly what happens after that scene, but I also did want it to just feel that way, like feel sort of like lovely and sad at the end. But I think part of it is that because that book was first-person narrative, and there's so many constraints to writing first-person narrative, even though there's a lot of power that comes out of writing a first-person narrative, like there's so many great things about it. This book was maybe a response to that book in that I suddenly had all these different kinds of voices because there's so many close third perspectives in this book, and I didn't want to write the same thing again. I wanted to write something different. I will say also that it's definitely my post-2016 election book, and I had a lot to say, and I had a lot of moving parts that were in my head, and so I think that I don't know if I necessarily chose to do it so much as it just was a natural choice. But then once I was in it, I was like, oh, this is really, I've always wanted to try to do it, but I also liked everything else that I had written, but I don't know if I could do it every single time, but I really enjoyed making things move a little bit more. I think it's fun to read. I would say.
And a really great thing that Jami told me once about close third, you said that you love it because you can also talk about the character's subconscious that way, which I thought was so valuable. And that's
you can just keep doing so many. You can just keep pulling back.
Yes.
Whatever, you can make all your own rules anyway. So, but close third is, yeah, it's juicy.
You really sold me.
Okay, good, great. I'm so glad you remember things I said. That's exciting.
I remember everything. My brain's a prison.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, sure. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I read the book and I really loved it. And there were times I was reading it and it felt like relief, being angry at the Toma dad. But then there were times that it felt like still anger, like so much anger. I was wondering, as a writer, as you were writing it, were you feeling that and had to pull back and go like, oh, I still got to shape the story? Or was it like, do you dismiss the emotion and go, I got to get the story down then all?
I just let everybody say whatever they have to say, and then I go back and tweak. I mean, I don't really, from my first draft to my last draft, it's not so dramatically different. There's things that get added in, but the writing the first draft through and the emotions are really real. So I just let her, because it's mostly Alex, but then also Barbra too, I think, are really the ones who are having the deepest feelings about him. And I just kind of let them go, and then I carve around it. But it's always emotions and character and voice first for me. And then I'll go back and sort of rearrange the pieces of it.
When I think of climate change, I think of New Orleans and Miami mostly, and maybe that's because of writers, I don't know. And I'm really looking at this economic gentrification and.
Did you read this book?
No.
Oh, okay. It's all in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and both of you, because the South is so involved in this, climate migration and the patriarchy. It's just and I'm wondering, because I don't think the patriarchy is really flexible enough to deal with.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. I think there's as I said, there's some wish fulfillment in this book, but I personally am not a smart or enough person to develop an incredible political plan but I do think that it starts with questioning the system and recognizing how it's broken. I mean, it's fucked up. It's like a system that's both broken and functioning at the same time. It's functioning for the people it works for, and it's broken for the people that it doesn't work for. And so I would invite people through this book, and I'm certainly not the only person who's doing this, to sort of recognize how it's broken and how it gets passed on and impacts generations. In terms of climate, this book is set on an incredibly hot day. That's all I can say. It's the heat is all over the book. I mean, I have lived through 3 summers now, and I'm fully in it and thinking about it a lot. I did it again. I'm almost into it a little bit. I'm almost a little not enjoying it, but I get how you can live in the heat, although I wouldn't want to do it all the time. But anyway, all those things I'm sort of thinking about, but I don't really, I don't want to say what the novelist's job is and what the novelist's job isn't, but my novelist's job is to present something for conversation and for discussion. And again, to create a structure and characters that are flexible enough that people can insert themselves and start to think about these things. That's a good question. I don't know what we do about the patriarchy. I don't. I think about it all the time. Anybody have any suggestions on what we do? Ladies? Any ladies in the room? Any men in the room?
Put 'em in a coma.
Right, put them in a coma. Yes?
Do you have a tough time having the characters have the last word as you let them have the last word?
To let them have the last. No, as long as they have something interesting to say, I will like let them talk. Does it agree? You mean, do they agree with me? I actually,
The last word, does it agree with you, or is it a little provocative?
I for sure feel like the last sentence of this book is really tells you everything that this book is about. For me, yeah. And it's in the thought of a character.
Do you have any trouble writing post-2016? Or do you find it?
I mean, everyone was like, I just feel like, I don't want to speak for every writer, but a lot of writers were like, what are we going to do now? And it's like, you're going to write. Like, we're going to just keep writing. We're going to sit down and write. So I didn't, 2016, I had a book that came out the winter of 2017. So I toured for All Grown Up right after, like, literally like 2 weeks after the Women's March and the inauguration and everything like that. So it's actually been really, this is not what you asked, but it's been really fascinating to tour in 2017 versus now, and to see how America and how people feel is like different, because everyone was actually incredibly energized in 2017. Like, people were freaked out, but they also were like, what are we gonna do? And let me tell you something, we got beat down in the last couple of years. People are real tired. I mean, nobody's given up the fight, but it's, I mean, 2017 was like, I remember going to New York and it was just protests. And everyone was protesting all the time, and it's definitely dialed down there a bit. So maybe that's why this tour, in fact, has been a little bit harder for me, because I think I'm feeling what the audiences are feeling a little bit. That wasn't what you asked. Was it hard? No, it was. Yeah, it was like, I don't know. We just keep going. It's what artists do. It's interesting to see all the stuff that's coming out of it now. But also, you don't have to. You can write about whatever you want to write about. But I think people are just feeling it a lot. Did you have trouble? Oh. You're going to do great. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
You mentioned that you said something about on the second or third draft, how your process, and then you give it to somebody to read. At what point do you know
That it's a book.
you're ready to hand it over and let somebody read it all the way through, rather than just maybe, hey, can you look at this chapter?
So my process is that I usually write 2 books at the same time, and then one book will eat the other book. And I used to write one book and then finish it and then throw it away and then write the other one. And then I decided it was more cost efficient to just try to put the 2 against each other and write 50 pages of this and 50 pages of this at the same time, because there's something I'm working out. And I was like, I don't actually need to write 300 pages to like figure that shit out. I can probably figure it out in 50 pages, what's working or not. So then I probably write about 50 to 100 pages. I give the 100 pages usually to my agent and maybe one other reader. And then he doesn't give me a lot of notes actually, but what he'll say is like, this is good or not good, or like, you would have to like make some changes for this to work. And if I don't want to make those changes, then I just don't write it. And I write really fast, so I have the luxury of just like whipping something out and then throwing it away if I want to. But usually I'll if it's getting to 100 pages and I give it to him, then I know that it's somewhere. And then I'll finish a first draft and I'll show it to, I have three primary readers, first readers, and they're all different. They all have to offer me different kinds of things. And then I'll do another draft and another draft, but over a 6-month period, I usually finish like something pretty solid, and then that can go to my editor, and then I'll be ready to get notes. I just keep going until it's done. It's like everyone has their own math, right? Like, what's your math?
Oh, it's messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really upset. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep I'm interested. That's why I'm asking you. I'm not trying to put you.
Oh yeah, no, I have to. I just have to really be I have to be like an unhealthy person. Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
like my process. Like,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, like I have to really, like, it becomes my higher power, you know, like in a way that like every like therapist, you know, would like advise against.
Oh.
And like my life throws, like it throws your life into like chaos, and then, you know, like you can't sustain meaningful like emotional relationships, you know, like to other people.
Okay.
Like
But-
I would do it your
but
way
like
if I
50
could.
But like 50 pages or 100 pages, or just you don't even think that way. You're just thinking can't talk to people at all.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not till the first draft's
You're not
done.
mathy about it. Like I'm a little mathy about it. It gives me
no.
structure to my life to
that's
know
great.
like that next year I'm going to write another book and then I'm going to do it, and it's just I like it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel healthy.
Aspirational.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I would believe if you said yes, but have you always been like that? Like from those
Good question.
before
Good question.
inquiry?
I mean, I think that when the first book versus the seventh book is a totally different game, because when you write your first book, you have no idea if anyone's ever going to read it or publish it or anything like that. But in fact, for my first book, I had read somewhere, all you have to do is write 1,000 words a day. So in fact, that's what I did for a 3-month period, is write 1,000 words a day. And so I was like, that seems to work. So, but I don't always have the luxury of like, okay, now I'm doing it full time and it's my living that I'm making. So like now it's like maybe the last 4 books it's been that way, but for the first 3, I was freelancing, I was stealing time, I was going broke, all those kinds of things. But I do think it's like what I learned was that if you want it to be your job, you have to treat it like it's your job. And so it's a 9 to 5 or 6 to 3 thing for me, and I just keep doing it. I got better at it and figured out what worked for me. I wanted it to work. I needed something to work for me. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that your sort of, is that the idea behind the couple weeks where we do 1,000 words a day?
Oh, yes. I guess I can. Has anyone
Oh,
here
talk
done
about
the
that,
1,000
yeah.
words a summer? Oh, hi. Oh, yay. Hi, guys. Yay. Every tour stop I've gone on, I've had people who've done it, which is really cool. So 2 summers ago, I have a friend in New Orleans who is a memoirist, has written 1 book, and then she also is a teacher, and she wanted to start her new proposal, and I was finishing up this book, I think, or starting this book or something like that. And I said, well, let's do like a little boot camp. I always do 1,000 words, and we'll just do it every day for 2 weeks. And then I like tweeted about it, and maybe I posted on Instagram that I was going to do it, and all these people said that they wanted to do it. So then I was like, all right, I'll just like put a little like mailing list up to see if anyone wants to do it, and 2,000 people signed up for it like almost immediately. So I was like, all right, now I guess I got to write these letters and whatever. And so that was the first year, but it was really great because the internet obviously can be an incredibly negative place, but for those 2 weeks that people are doing it, it's like, you know, there's a little hashtag for it, 1,000 words a summer, and everyone, and it's like a safe place for people to go on Twitter and talk about writing, and people have like finished books, people have gotten book deals, people have written for the first time in their lives, like there's so many, I've written all different kinds of things. And then this past summer I did it again, and 5,000 people signed up for it, which was actually a little top heavy, because there were people who were just signing up for it and they didn't know what it was, and then they'd go on the hashtag and be like, this is too much work, and I'm like, you don't have to do it. Like, nobody's making you do this thing. You can just not do it. Like, just get off my hashtag. If you're like, we're just trying to all be nerds here. Let us be nerds here. But this tour has been the first time that I've toured. It's been a really like a wonderful beacon of light for me on this tour, because in New Orleans I don't talk about it really with people, so it's just like primarily something that I do on the internet and then it's done. And then to go out on tour and meet people every stop basically, and who have done it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't make this up in my head, because it really could have been that way, but actually people are really doing it. And so it's really, I think next summer will be more, because I switched to a new email list so I can have more than 5,000 people on it, and I'm a little worried that it'll be a lot more, like the more people who are on doing it, the more work it is. But I think it's nice, it's a nice way to talk to other writers and participate in the writing community, which has always been like so helpful to me to be a part of. I never was a part of a community until I was part of a writing community. I was such a wanderer until I found these people, and so it's nice to be able to give back to that and have people get something out of.
I just want you to know, it's like, it sounds so silly or basic. It's like to just get that email that could, like, the first line is like, today you will write 1,000 words, and I'm like, by God, you're right, I will.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
And
like
nobody's checking, but there's something about, it's almost like you're confident we'll do that.
I
You're
do
like,
think
"Okay,
so.
I'll do
Yeah,
it."
yeah, I do think so. I think it's like you can be, and also it's like it can be any kind. I think that people are too precious about their writing, and they're too afraid, and they want it to be perfect. And so a lot of the encouragement of this is, it can just be anything that you want it to be. It can just be, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can just get it out on the page and see what happens. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not being critical of whatever the national novel writing, whatever that is.
NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, like I can never say, I can't even bring myself to say it, but like I think that it can be helpful, but that is like making you towards a very specific goal. And I really just want people to like love writing and enjoy writing and get something out of it, like express themselves more than anything else, because it's been a gift to me. So this is our sincere part of the conversation,
love
but
it.
I feel it very much. Yeah. Anybody else?
Other questions?
Sorry, I have another question. Just a quick question about your primary readers.
Yeah.
Are they friends or are they people that you know? How do you get these primary?
How do I find? I mean, just over the years, really, of like meeting other novelists along the way. But I read for them too. So I don't know. I got really lucky. I think there probably could be other people that I could. Actually, my next book is going to be nonfiction, essay, memoir kind of stuff. So I think I might have to find some other kinds of readers, you know. And then I also had a bunch of readers for this book who were native New Orleanians, because I wanted to make sure I didn't screw anything up. So every stage of it, there's different people, and I'm try to do it for other people too. And we all have different things that we bring to it. I don't know. I think you read it.
I did. I was like your side piece.
Yeah.
Reader. I'm not a primary, but
Yeah.
you'll let me in at night.
Yeah. If you want to come in during the day sometime, you're busy. You're a busy person though, but yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll be here.
Yeah.
Please, she's happy to sign a book. Please help yourself to cupcakes. There are fans
Thank
with
you so much.
Sid. Can you just tell them who Sid is?
This is my. I did not know you were doing this. I might have gotten a different picture because this is like him and a Mardi
It's the best picture.
It's a Mardi Gras costume, but I have so many. I could have given you 10 different Mardi Gras costumes that I have him in. It's just it's my dog. It's the little buddy. He's like the best thing ever.
Yes.
He sits at my feet beneath the desk when
Yeah.
I write.
So you can
He's
read
cute.
this very, hot day book and fan yourself with Sid, and yeah. All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, Jamie.
Alissa.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Too much. So cute.
You've been listening to the Skylight Books author reading series. Don't forget, you can listen to this and all of our other great podcasts at skylightbooks.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and we hope to see you soon.